The legal industry is undergoing a technological revolution, and in the past several years, legal tech has exploded into a $400 billion market. Today's event is showcasing 30-plus tech companies talking about the latest and greatest in legal tech.
What does legal tech mean to you?
Okay, so hi everyone. First of all, I like to congratulate you guys. I was super duper impressed both by the presentation and by the companies presenting here. It's so refreshing to see so many innovations in so many different areas of law. I was a business lawyer for 8 years before, and I could only imagine 8 years ago to have so many things. You know, I would adopt everything here if I still would be a partner at the law firm where I was working. So what does legal tech mean to me? I think, you know, it's essentially removing the borders for lawyers and for people. As a lawyer, it was very frustrating for me to each time, you know, get stuck in front of a wall, seeing an industry which is so slow and backward in terms of adopting new technologies, while everyone have their own technologies. Marketeers have their technologies, salespeople have their technologies. Lawyers who are so smart are left in the 19th century. So for me, legal tech is about removing these boundaries and taking lawyers and people to the 21st century in terms of law.
All right, so I've already spoken a bit, so I'll make mine pretty short. But I think what legal tech is it's kind of this hope, this vision of what lawyers can be with the help of technology. But I think in large part it's unrealized, and there's just such a huge untapped potential. I think legal tech and the people pushing this are the ones that are hopefully bringing, you know, kind of that revolution that could take these very intelligent people and match them with very intelligent, you know, products.
So I think of legal tech really broadly. If you go to an ILTA event or even to the ABA Tech Show that many of us are going to on Thursday, you're going to see legal tech from like maybe 3 tiers you can think of. You've got the basic infrastructure, right? Your keep the lights on kind of tech. And you've also got your legal tech that's going to make things more efficient, that law firms are starting to adopt. And then you've got the legal tech that I think really jazzes the rest of us, who get really excited about legal tech that can help lawyers work differently or even replace some of the work that they currently do. That's the cool legal tech that we talk about. But no matter where you are in the legal industry, if you're in a law firm, legal tech affects you. You can't do your job anymore without technology. So when I think about legal tech, it's very broad. It affects everybody, and the really cool stuff is going to affect some people in some ways that they need to look ahead for.
Hi. So when I think about legal tech and the legal profession, it's first important to distinguish between the large law firm market that serves corporations and solos and small firms which serves consumers and small business. And there really are 2 different professions, and the technologies tend to be different as well. And with respect to the 600,000 lawyers that serve consumers and small business, they're still only serving about 20% of that marketplace because of the business models that they have and the technologies that they employ. When I think about legal tech, I think of it slightly more narrowly in the sense that I like to think of it as software eating the legal profession. The sweet spot is software that replaces legal work and accelerates either the trend to self-help, which is going to continue to accelerate at geometric speeds and therefore continue to displace lawyers of all kinds. And it doesn't minimize the fact that case management, billing systems, e-discovery, document management, which are back office systems, is not part of legal tech. But the thing that will have the most transformative impact is software that really replaces the work of lawyers, either to make lawyers better lawyers or to enable them to help people who are representing themselves, or more importantly, to empower consumers directly.
So I'll tell you a bit from my angle, because I like the distinction that you guys touched on between software that really is super duper sophisticated machine learning type of things and big data type of things and more type of productivity software, which is, required, necessary, should have been there 20 years ago, but is not. It's happening now. And I think I met about 100 investors before I managed to raise my seed round. And after the 50th investor, I came to a realization that legal tech, the way I was selling it, wasn't sexy at all. So I was talking about software that helps lawyers do their job better, selling to law firms. And most of the investors who weren't focused on legal tech didn't find it interesting enough. They didn't find it interesting. The reaction I got was, listen, lawyers are slow in adopting technology. They're very, very moderate. They don't take risks. It's going to be very, very hard. Plus, even if you do sell, you can build a very big company. Look at the e-discovery companies. These are tens of millions of dollars of businesses. It's not, they have their lessons. So we changed. We started talking about a much bigger story, taking the software, empowering everybody essentially, helping consumers, helping businesses understand contracts better. And then we saw that story really, really resonated with everyone. And I think this is what did the shift for us.
What is your prediction of the next big thing in legal tech? And that can be for lawyers, that can be for consumers. It's pretty far-reaching. My point of view is that we're going to have to move past integration to interoperability, which is not a good word, but it basically, the systems we can, with my company Tracklight, it is integrated with several other platforms, but nobody wants to log into multiple systems. So I think whoever will win will be the one that comes up with kind of just one system and everything operates in it. So we can go down the road the same way, just for expediency.
Sure. So I think for me, the next big thing in legal tech is actually the clients, the customers. We are seeing a changing of the guard. We are seeing the millennials, and you had it in your presentation, going more into decision-making positions. These guys are used to using more sophisticated computer tools to do everything essentially online. And I think with this change, it would solve a lot of the problems that legal tech companies were facing, having to explain, that I encounter a lot of the times an argument about why should I be useful, right? I'm a lawyer, I bill by the hour. Why should I be useful? Okay, I think yeah. It's funny. I was laughing from the inside as well, but I wasn't making. I was crying on the outside because I wasn't selling to them. So, yeah. So I think people are now, with this changing of the generations, people are now understanding that because every market, and especially this market, is becoming more commoditized and more competitive, you have to adopt new technologies, and these guys are used to adopting new technologies faster. And I think this would affect a lot on how legal tech is going to perform, and on the willingness of people to adopt and try new technologies in order to compete better.
Yeah, that's great. So when I think of the next big thing in legal tech, is that something needs to happen before this next thing happens. So I want to talk about the first thing that has to happen. Richard Susskind, I love this quote where he says, it's tough to walk into a room full of millionaires and tell them they're doing it wrong. But legal tech by its very nature requires you to have that conversation. And if you go into an executive committee meeting with the managing partner, the top partners of the firm, they're extremely resistant to change. And so for the next big thing in legal tech to happen, especially with those big firms, and I know some of you are more, on that other segment with smaller firms, the structure of firms has to change. And it's already starting to happen. You're seeing firms that are hiring CEOs, non-lawyer CEOs. I love they call them non-lawyer CEOs, like as if non-lawyers are less of people or something. But anyway, we have to have CEOs running these law firms like companies where they can look for scale, they can look for all the opportunities that legal tech is going to bring. So I mean, I really see that as it's already emerging, but I think it's going to be widespread in the next few years because law firms will need it to survive.
I think when you're looking for what is the next big thing in legal tech, you follow the money, right? As in with everything else. For the past few years, it's been e-discovery. When you go to legal tech, it's a lot of e-discovery. Lots of companies have made millions of dollars because they were able to use technology for what lawyers used to do, right? And lawyers are the biggest expense of law firms. Our resources are the most expensive things we have, our human resources. And technology like e-discovery, different forms of AI, are going to keep eating at that. So, I mean, it's a buzzword, but I think we will see it more and more as the new thing in legal is, artificial intelligence in many different forms. Because when you think of what an associate does, the research that they do, the drafting that they do, and the contract reviews, legal document reviews, all of that is already being eaten at. And it's being eaten at the bottom, but just like with any disruptive innovation, when they capture the bottom, they will move up. So, contract review, we're seeing due diligence engine, which now has a new name, I think it's Kira. You see, we have document automation, that's gonna get better. If you've read about, I'm blanking on what it's called, but they make the product Wordsmith. Look up Wordsmith. It's already used by the Associated Press to write automated articles. If this technology can also already replace some journalists, you can see how it's going to start replacing some drafting done by attorneys. Right now, it still requires some structured data, but it won't in 5 years because it's going to start eating up the market as it grows. So these types of artificial intelligence, those are going to be the next big thing.
Yeah, so I really agree with you 100%. The software eats the legal profession. You see it with predictive coding, you see it with due diligence. Our own focus is now automated legal advice. We have a very big position in automated legal documents, and we've done really well with that. And we see the next step is automated legal advice. We're working with the Watson engine, we're working a little bit with Neota. We feel that we have the tools, and it will cut both ways, but used in lots of environments. Again, my focus is really on the consumer side, which I think we'll see some breakthroughs in a relatively short period of time, not 10 years, in 1 or 2 years. The other thing I want to mention is what I call, particularly on the consumer side, is the rise of platforms. What we see, law firms are really built around the pipe model, where the pipe means that the law firm deals with clients directly. But for smaller law firms, they really have a problem with client acquisition. They really can't get any placement in the search engines. So we're seeing already the beginnings of these platforms which connect lawyers and consumers. One of the best examples, I'll give a pitch here to Ava, which just released a new limited legal service model. So it is espousing a new business model, a value chain business model, not a hourly based business model, offering to the millions of people that hit its platform the opportunity to actually deliver legal services through the platform. So what a platform does, I mean, Facebook's a platform, Uber's a platform, Lyft is a platform. The platform enables transactions on both sides and then creates value on both sides. So we're going to see a shift from what I call pipe to platform. The best example I now know of is Ava.
What do you think is the next step for legal tech to improve on the trust that it has? Because, if you're dealing with a human attorney, you either trust them or you don't. They've either done good work for you previously or they've screwed something up, in which case you're done with them. So with a machine, is it just and I call it a machine, but with tech in general, is it something that can get trust in the same way as humans?
We offer a service, a direct law service, which enables lawyers to deliver legal services online, but the lawyer is still very much accountable and in the space and dealing with clients. with what I call this e-lawyering technology, enabling the lawyer to be more productive at the point of the creation of the legal product. So you don't have to have models which take the lawyer out of the equation entirely. The ABA, in fact, is going to hopefully pass a new resolution that suggests that the new legal form sites that don't have lawyers put a link to some of the legal lawyer platforms that are out there, so that consumers can actually buy bits of legal services or more legal services on a limited legal service basis to platforms like Avo and so forth.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the point. So the machines, and we are a machine. You know, we do automated contract review online. So the machine, and last time I was in the States a couple of 3 months ago, I saw a LegalZoom commercial on TV. I don't know if you guys saw it, where the lawyers are saying, "I'm not a robot." Did anyone see it? It's a nice commercial. So everyone has seen it. Don't have a lawyer in the front. They at least have to show, you know, that they are built upon the knowledge of lawyers, that they have lawyers available to complete the handling of the issue, and that way I think you can find the balance. But you know, like in e-discovery, where you have the machine doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but in the end you have a person that decides. I think this is what you're going to see with similar cases online.
Yeah, well, I just want to add real quickly, and that is, you know, with LegalZoom, they have actual lawyers doing some of the work now, and those lawyers they're judged based on the scores they receive from their clients. And so not only are they doing real legal work, but they have far superior business processes to make sure there's satisfactory work done. And so you talk about companies are way better at earning trust than law firms because they have systems in place for it, generally speaking.
Which is a nice lead-in to my plug for our next law. Yes, Tom, but I'm plugging Evolve Law. So, so Evolve Law's next event is on key performance indicators. It's up in Seattle on April 21st, and as Adrian showed in his slides, the whole idea of Net Promoter Score for client or customer satisfaction is foreign to law firms, but it is something that LegalZoom talks about, and they did a whole presentation at a conference last fall on Net Promoter Score and how it's so important. And I think that is how you keep that trust, that you have companies that are going to deliver services. And it's interesting because although Avo's legal plan, limited, whatever you're calling it, sorry Dan, I'm butchering it, Avo's new, we'll edit this out. We're calling it new. It's not new at all. Like, the group legal services plans have been around. They've been union plans. They've been around for, I don't know. I just read an article. Yeah, 40 years with Legal Shield. In the 70s, these plans started for unions. So it's sort of getting that into the mainstream and kind of having plans that didn't have much technology get technology added to it. We have all this exciting stuff happening in legal tech, but why is it that it's one of the slowest industries to adopt any kind of technology? Because we're leaving Word and Excel out of this.
I thought that the conference on Thursday has an Excel and Word training session. No, they do. Yeah. So there was a statistics by a Canadian company. I forgot their name. They said they had these statistics about how many thousands of hours are wasted just because people don't type fast enough and don't know how to use relatively simple functions in Word. The basics, you know, we're trying to invent a Ferrari where people still need their Subarus.
So 7 years ago, when I started talking to firms about social media, it was like this whole day training on, like, look, you have landing pages and you measure the clicks and you're able to use Hootsuite and TweetDeck to see all the content and search it and all these powerful tools, and they loved it. They're just eating it up. The next week I'd follow up and just like, nobody had done anything. I mean, it's not that I only got a little bit of traction, I got like no traction. So now 7 years later, it's like, okay, you just have to click one button. Wait, which button? The biggest one. And like, but in the book, Crossing the Chasm, it talks about how the laggards of technology, they only really will start using computers and innovation when it's so embedded in their technology, they don't even know they're using technology. So, I mean, I think that's the next step is if we can find a way to fit this technology almost so they don't realize, so it's part of their workflow but makes them better without a major learning curve. I mean, I know that's not an easy thing to do, but that's what we're trying to do.
Right. I see 3 major reasons why it's really difficult to get lawyers and law firms to adopt legal tech. The first is incentives. I know it's cliche, but the billable hour, I see it in my work. So when you're trying to get a group to adopt a tool, even if it's blessed by their practice group leader and it has top law firm expertise baked into its very core, there's that one person in the room who just feels like it really needs to be discussed. Won't this lose us money? Because if we do it quicker, we're losing money. This isn't better. Now, luckily, I work at a place where the practice group leader and the other attorneys can actually shut that argument down for me. I don't have to be the only evangelist. But there's still that person who just has to bring it up because that's what's in their head. And outside, and in lawyers' minds, in law firms, they're still thinking, how do I make money? That is a rational thought process. So first, it's incentives. Second, the quality of the tools that they're being asked to use. So to the previous point, if it's not so intuitive, they won't want to use it. And if you, consumer-facing legal tech these days looks really good. A lot of it, super user-friendly, looks really nice. It is competing with Google and LegalZoom and apps on your phone. That's its competitors, and it looks nice. The technology in law firms doesn't all look that nice. It's not new a lot of the time. Even the stuff we call innovative, they're still kind of working out the kinks of that user experience. So when you're asking lawyers to use this new technology and it's still kind of clunky and not fun to use, well, that does make adoption harder.
You get one chance, kind of, right?
Yeah. So you've got incentives, you've got the ease of use, and I forgot my third one, so maybe it'll come back to me, but there you go, that's 2.
The third one is wiping out the Department of Education. I know. So anyway, I basically agree with Amani on this in the sense that I think there's a confusion of what we call business models. The legal profession is still built on the job shop model, which is what we're taught in law school, which is that every problem must be uncovered, every issue must be uncovered, and the measure for that is still the billable hour. Whether it's small firms or large firms, the alternative business model is the value chain business model where you deliver a result to a consumer for a fixed price. And we see that happening in the large law firm environment in Axiom Law. We see what that's happening with LegalZoom on the consumer space. And there we take technology, paralegal systems, processes, the work that you do, and produce a real value to the consumer. Not every kind of practice is going to be appropriate for the value chain business model. And some very large firms need to stick to the job shop model. But what consumers are really demanding, and this is the real disconnect, they're really demanding a form of the value chain business model. They want a result at a price that they can afford. And until lawyers begin to understand that, even in law schools, the law schools do a good job of teaching the job shop model. That's all they do. But it's the disconnect, of course, is that's not what consumers really want.
Technology has impacted every branch of the legal industry. I'm Heidi Kurzeka for Advisor TV, and this has been Breaking News.